Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. It's finished. Tottenham Hotspur 2, Manchester United 0. Lessons that were learned for Manchester United, because Tottenham were absolutely brilliant. And I think when you look at Manchester United, what were the three things that we would have said at the end of the season that they need to improve upon? They need to get possibly better at they need to stop being sloppy in conceding goals and making sure that they don't drop, their heads don't drop when they do go behind. They need to get as a goal scorer who can go up and score goals. Somebody who can actually score 20-30 goals a season, consistent striker. And they probably need somebody in midfield who can actually play alongside Casemiro and provide more physicality, because at the moment Eriksen doesn't do that. None of the three have been answered. None of the three have been addressed. It looks like we're still in the same season because none of the three things have been answered. And this has not happened today. This has been a consistent theme right from the start of preseason. Been saying it. I've been saying it. I'm sure others have been saying it too. This midfield is a problem. This strike force is a problem. And for some reason, I don't know if it's Ten Hag. I don't know if it's the board. If whoever it is, they've just decided to turn a blind eye. Nobody had decided to make any kind of change to this team. It's just been like, whatever, it's fine, it's fine. And I said at the end of the last game as well, I said, this is not sustainable. You get away with it here, but it's going to come back to bite you at some point. And it came back to bite them today, and it will come back to bite them again and again and again. They're still losing games away from home. They're still not playing very well away from home. There's just too many issues in that team. And I mean, if you think United are going to finish top 4 still after watching that performance, fair play to you. Good luck to you. You're in for a hard season. That's what I would say. But if there are no reinforcements, and it looks like there are no reinforcements coming, then I struggle to see how United are going to finish top 4. I struggle to see how they could finish top 6 at the moment, because you can easily tell that there are six better teams than United at the moment. They really are. How do you expect them to finish above the six? How do you expect them to finish above Manchester City, Arsenal? You've got Chelsea, you've got Liverpool, you've got Brighton, you've got Newcastle. I mean, how do you expect to finish? Having watched all those games, and I'll watch Newcastle later today, but having seen the first 2 games, and one game for some of these teams, I just don't see how United can finish above them. I really don't. I don't know how people are so confident that United will finish top 4. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Anyway, talking about this game itself, I mean, yeah, I can get into a rant about United, but talk about this game itself. One thing that we learned from Tottenham is look at that midfield. When you've got Bissouma, you've got Sarr, and you've got Maddison, that is an ideal Premier League midfield. Maybe not in terms of talent or ability, but in terms of attributes, that's what a Premier League midfield has got to look like. You've got to have 2 players, 2 midfielders who are both good going back and forward. You can't have one who's more forward thinking and one who's more defensive. That doesn't work anymore. If you're going to play double pivot, you need both who can do. You need 2 players who can both defend well and who can go forward well with the passing, goal scoring, whatever you need to. And then you've got Maddison, who's a dynamic player who can kind of shift from side to side, make runs, score the occasional goal, but also run that midfield, from that number 10 position. That's what you need. When you look at Manchester United midfield, you've got Casemiro, who's defensive. Sometimes he's got the attributes of doing both. We got one. Mason Mount, for some reason, just doesn't. All he's good for is running around. He can't pass. He can't score. He gets into good positions where he makes the wrong decision almost every time offensively. He just runs around. People will put out graphics and memes of Mason Mount tracking back, running back, 50 yards. What's the point? What's the point? Why is he out of position that he has to run 50 yards every time? Why is it that after he runs, he doesn't actually make a tackle? I struggle to think of number of times that he makes actually proper vital interception the tackles. So many times he can't trap the ball. He's not a midfielder. He's just not. And I mean, this is not a let's go in on Mason Mount and let's crucify him. But the fact is, I think he needs dropping. I mean, after 2 games, you can already tell he is not good enough to start in that midfield of Manchester United. He's just not. The problem is now they paid £60 million for him. So what do you do with him? Do you stick him on the bench and let his value drop, or do you actually play him and hope that somehow something will click? But at the moment, that's a waste of money, right? £60 million that could have been spent on Romeo Lavia. They would have got a better player. They'd got Lavia instead of him. They would have got a better player. Had they spent that on Amrabat at the start of the season instead of waiting till now, they would have been in better shape. But instead, they went for this deal, and whoever made this deal happen, whether it's the Glazers, whether it's Arnold, whether it's Ten Hag, whoever decided to do that deal, they're at fault. And I don't care who it is, and we'll probably might never know. I think the blame will fall on Ten Hag at some point if he gets sacked. But whoever sanctioned that deal, whoever thought that deal was a good idea, they deserve to be sacked. They won't be. They deserve to be blamed for it. Maybe not sacked, but they deserve to be blamed for that one. They have to take full responsibility for that deal, because that is just a bad deal, and he's going to be a flop. I'm sorry to say this. I said this about Martinez last season. He proved me wrong, but that's Martinez. This is Mount. I just don't see how he's going to succeed. I just don't see how he's going to succeed unless you drop Bruno Fernandes, which is never ever going to happen. I just don't see how he's going to be a success for Manchester United. I just don't see it. But anyway, but that's a template. The Spurs midfield was a template, and that's how that goal. That's how they bossed that second half, because they realized, guess what, guys? And the first half, I think they were being a little bit too respectful of Manchester United. They were letting them have the ball. They were a little bit, allowing them to play their game. But I think somewhere along the line, Postecoglu, probably towards the 30th or 35th minute, he went, hang on a second here. This is not a United team that's playing really well. We can get at that midfield. We don't need to counter. We can actually hold the ball on. We can, we can play a passing through. And they got a little bit carried away with the Wolves game. I think they thought how Wolves played is how we should play, but they don't need to do that. They can just hold on to the ball. We can just pass around them, and we can actually get at them. And that's when they started doing that. They started having more possession. They started creating more chances, and the goals were bound to come. And they came in the second half. I think United will be disappointed with how both the goals were conceded. The first one, I think, is just bad defending from Garnacho and Shaw. Both of them kind of miss out. Nobody knows who's marking who. Kulusevski has a free run into the box. There's a bit of a deflection from Martinez, and Sarr is just there to stab it home. It's a tap in, but it's a good goal for him. But again, it's good midfield play because they kept the ball and they moved it, and they tried to find space, and then they moved it when they found that space. The second goal for me, again, that's just sorry defending really, because it's the Spurs are just playing around with Manchester United. United are 1-0 down, by the way, and they look so uninspired after the substitution. The substitution should have galvanized them, but if anything, it actually made it worse. For some reason, the team just looked uninspired. Maybe because they were expecting better subs, maybe because they were expecting something different. But the fact is that team just lost belief after the subs. They just looked uninspired. They never looked like scoring after those substitutions. And yeah, that's just what it is. Pass the ball around, ball comes into the box. I mean, it's a very, very poor shot from Davis, but Martinez completely miskicks it. And this is not the first time that he's been prone. I've said this as well. Martinez doesn't look like the same player that he was last season. Even in preseason, he was looking a bit average. The last game also, he wasn't that good. This game also, he wasn't that good. He's having 6.5 out of 10, but that's not his level. His level was 7, 8, 9, and now he's struggling. I think maybe Lindelof needs to run in the side. I don't know. But there's too many players. And at the moment, United are carrying too many passengers in this team. They're carrying a bit. Martinez is a bit of a passenger. Luke Shaw is a bit of a passenger. You've got Mason Mount, who's a bit of a passenger. Marcus Rashford looks an absolute liability as a striker. Antony looks absolutely, crap. Garnacho looks a bit of a passenger as well. He's young. It's not his fault. He shouldn't be having so much burden. But the fact is, he doesn't look very good. So you're not just carrying too many passengers, and that doesn't work in the Premier League. You're just not going to win games away from home against a bona fide top 7, top 8 team. You're not going to win games with carrying so many passengers. The penalty shout against Romero. Now, was that a penalty? For me, I've seen those given. I've seen those not given. I know some people think it's a penalty. Some people think it's not a penalty. I think I was in the mind that it should be a penalty, but I can't complain if it's not a penalty because I've seen them not being given. And I was like, again, it's one of those where the referee is not given it, VR will not overturn it because they just won't. Should it have been I think if you're a United fan, you will feel it should be a penalty. If you're a Spurs fan, you will feel it's not a penalty. So again, it's one of those subjective decisions. I think it should have been a penalty, but then again, I know I'm a Manchester United fan, so I can understand why somebody might oppose that or why I may be wrong. So again, it's 50-50, but United shouldn't be relying on penalties to win games, should they? They need to be doing better on the ball. There's a lot needs to be changed, and now they've got to play. But that's just what it is. From Spurs' point of view, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed that they could only draw against Brentford, but they've got a well-deserved win here. I don't think Spurs will finish top 4. I don't think this performance is going to change my view on that because they still lack a consistent goal scorer. Okay, and that is, I mean, against a scrub team like United, that's okay. But when you're going to play against better teams, that will be a problem. I don't see them finishing in top 4, but I do think they will be a contender for European spots. They could make the Europa League. They might be able to make the Conference League as well. That maybe one of those, but definitely top 8. I think it's definitely possible for them. I'm at the moment. I'm a little bit. I don't want to make any predictions right now about the rest of the field because you obviously got to look at how the Champions League games or the Europa League games will impact teams like Villa and Brighton before we start thinking about, and even Newcastle, before we start thinking about who's going to finish where for real, like actual positions. But I can see Spurs competing for those European spots. I don't think they'll finish top 4 though. From Manchester United's point of view, I think the next game against Forest, I mean, if they somehow contrive not to win that one, and it's quite possible that they don't, because I really struggle to see where the goals are going to come from. The problem for them at the moment, forget the defense side of things, the goal scoring. The goals just aren't coming. And when you're not scoring goals, teams know that they can press you higher up. They know that they're not a threat. I mean, the only trick in the book seems to be let's switch play out to wide or hit a long ball to Rashford. That literally all Manchester United look like they want to do. There's no creativity in that midfield because Mount is a creative vacuum. There's no dynamism in the forward play because Rashford and Antony are they have no dynamism at all about them. They're one-trick ponies. Both of them are one-trick ponies. So ultimately, what you're left with is, where's the goal going to come from? Maybe Forest will make an error to give a goal, but there's no goals. If you're not scoring goals, all you have to do as a team is just step up a little bit, catch them offside. It's done. Long balls coming in, just head them out. No big deal. So that's what it is. So where the goal's going to come from? So if they don't score, how are they going to win games? And if they don't win that game against Forest, I mean, they're going to get battered against Arsenal. I mean, at this point, I'm of the assumption, and I'm making this assumption that United are not bringing anyone else in because nobody's leaving. Like, I mean, we've heard nothing about anyone leaving. Even the players who are supposed to leave are making such outrageous demands. I mean, Bailly wants a payoff to leave. Maguire wants a payoff to leave. I'm sure McTominay doesn't want to leave for whatever reason. I mean, and I think United have priced him out of the market in some ways. They went and asked for 35-40 million pounds, and nobody's going to pay that. So at the moment, I don't think anyone's coming in, and unless United go again what they did last year, where they panic buy, but I don't think anyone's coming in, and this squad is not good enough. The squad is just not good enough. They're going to get battered by Arsenal. I'm worried about that game now. That game is going to be a real problem. And then what happens after that is anybody's guess. What will also worry a lot of people, and it worries me as well, is I think Ten Hag the team looked uninspired. After the substitutions, especially, they looked uninspired. As soon as that first goal went in, and then the Antony shot hit the crossbar, which I thought was not really good. I mean, it surprised me as well that it hit the bar because I thought it was going to go wide. But immediately after that, United just never looked inspired. They never looked like they were going to get back into it, and Ten Hag couldn't inspire them. And I wonder if Ten Hag looks uninspired as well. Maybe he thinks that the team and the squad, I'm not getting any backing. I'm not getting the players that I want. And so should I? I mean, he could walk away. He could walk away from this, and we know that. And even if he doesn't walk away, he might just go, screw it, sack me, I'm done. Anyway, the club is a mess. The club is a mess, and I think it's starting to impact everyone right from top to bottom. I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with the club at the moment. Right from the top, right to the bottom, it's a mess, and it's impacting everybody. I feel it's impacting everybody, and I think it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. I just feel that way. I just feel that that's where it is headed. But anyway, that's all for another time. I think it's a disappointing performance, but congratulations to Spurs. Well done. Bissouma, man of the match. I think I would agree with that. I could give it to Sarr. You could give it to Maddison. I think those three as a midfield, I think they just were excellent. They just dominated the game, and you could give any three of them and you wouldn't be wrong because they all played their hearts out. They played very well. Spurs deserved the win. Really, really played well. And 3 points for them. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? So well done to Spurs. Congratulations to them. Share your thoughts, of course. Smash like for Spurs. Smash like for their midfield. Of course, if you enjoyed their game. And share, as I said, share your comments because I love hearing your thoughts about this game. What do you think needs to change for Manchester United? What do you think Spurs can do better? Maybe can Spurs challenge for top 4? Let me know in the comments. Of course, always love to hear from you. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We always appreciate your support. We'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.